All right, let's run it.
This is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley.
It's exciting stuff. Yeah, well, no, you can talk.
Oh, can I talk?
Yeah. So we talk as it comes in.
Oh, do we talk?
Yeah, this is why you have to be a consumer of the podcast. So you know what happens when we come in.
All right.
This is our opening conversation. People want to know what the banter is.
Oh, what the banter is about.
Yes,
Let's see.
Exactly.
Well, we won't go into what
we're done
talking
bantering.
about.
We're done bantering now because
we're in.
Yeah, we're full on in.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome. You've come to the right place. This is the Grow. Yes, I hadn't said it yet. This is the Grow Business Podcast. No, okay. He loves his buttons today. I'm Cory Mosley. We are back for another episode. Okay, he's going.
Why? He's going crazy
he's
over
going,
there.
Yeah, he's going a little loosey-goosey today. I don't know.
Because it's race weekend. He's
Yeah,
got his sounds up.
I don't know what coffee. I don't know what caffeine he's had there, but he says he had zero caffeine. But yes, you've reached the Grow Podcast. Now, for those of you, well, now the cat's out of the bag because they know, even the people listening who stream us now know that clearly is not LG 007's voice. Then if you're watching us on YouTube, clearly this is not LG 007. I've got a special guest co-host today. I'm very excited. Now, you know her as one of the hosts of the RVA Small Business Show. She's also a dynamic speaker and speaker coach and past president of things, lots of things. So we've got a great veteran in the house, not of the military.
No.
But of the communications world. And we're thrilled to have her also on RVA Small Business Network. Joan Bowling is joining us today.
Cory, thank you so much.
That's all we got for her?
Do I get a sound effect?
Yeah.
Yay.
Wow,
Yes.
you had to reach for
Yes.
that one, William.
See?
That's pretty rough there.
He dug deep. And of course, the man with the loose fingers on the buttons is Willie H. Willie H is here.
Yay, a little rim
buttons,
shot
William.
there.
That's right. I think he had, maybe this could be just excitement to have you, because I think he's hit more buttons in the first 3 minutes than he did the last 5 episodes.
That finger's
or
gonna wear out over there.
He's just over there loosey-goosey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks, Cory.
And I thought it'd be great. Now, as usual, Joan's admitted she does not listen to the podcast, but that's okay. It's not for you anyway.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's for our loyal listeners.
All right.
Yes, it's for our loyal listeners. So the way this works is you don't know the topic.
Okay.
Right? We have not discussed. You don't know exactly what we're going to talk about today. But I made sure it was in your field of expertise.
Appreciate
in
that.
particular, so we can get some golden nuggets from you today, and you can share with the audience. What we generally like to do, our hope is we cross our fingers that we get to kind of at least 5. That's our goal. We try to get to like 5 takeaways.
5 takeaways.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
okay.
We've tried to do more in the past, and that has led to like part 1, part 2 episodes.
Right.
So we've become less ambitious.
We reeled it
in terms of what we can get to, right? Because it's said that I have a tendency. It's highly possible that I could go off on a rant or a tangent or go to those different things, and then we look up, and an hour's gone by. Right? Yeah. So we try to target our time on what we're doing here. But I could not have you in the building without a conversation about communications and why they're vital. And you train executives, you train other speakers, you train people. You've done work with TEDx and the TEDx organizations. So really, and you're an award winner yourself in terms of public speaking, prepared speech in those areas. So I thought it'd be great to have you weigh in on how we can make small business owners more effective communicators, right? Because we know that we agree that communication is vital for small business owners. It directly influences their ability to manage their teams, sell their products, build relationships with customers, build relationships with partners. So I figured we'd strive for 5.
All right.
We're going to give 5 tips to help small business owners become better communicators.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that first?
Well, there's a couple different arenas for a small business, and you mentioned them, and they are with your team. That could be one way to communicate, or a different group to communicate. They're with your vendors. You have that negotiation going on.
Right.
They're with customers or potential customers, and then they're with the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I think when you're a small business owner, again, you know what the focus is. Like, I know what I'm going to do. I do it well. We're going to launch. And it goes well. And you have to recheck every now and then to make sure the communication is going well.
Yeah.
Just like a coach, you have to have someone who you trust and who has your ear, or they have your ear, so that you can have that communication going, saying, that didn't work out really well. For example, there was one person that I worked with, and they had a person as part of their team. It was customer service, and they were great with customers, fantastic with customers. Where they needed to reel it in was the behind-the-scenes work wasn't getting done because it was work that was necessary to the business, but they preferred not to do it.
Right.
They wanted to work with the customer. That's where they shone. That's where all the comments came in that said 5-star, 4.5,
Right.
you rock. However, that person was bringing down the team because that work is getting distributed to everybody else because it needed to be done. Management's job then is to have that conversation.
Right.
How do you do that? And the way to do that is just by stating the facts.
Yeah.
The facts are, you do a great job with customers. And, I like to check in and get your feedback on that. How do you feel? You're doing great. Give me some stories. Super. There are things that I see that I'd like for you to do, pay a little bit more attention to. And those are, and you bring that up.
Right.
And then I think it's best that you notice them doing those things well. Also, I think it's best to have some sort of checklist, because what you like to do is usually top of mind. What you don't like to do is secondary.
Right.
And you need to be able to pull that up in order to get that muscle stronger with that employee.
So when you think about communicating, and you're talking about, right, we've kind of jumped into the first dynamic, which is really a conversation about communicating within your organization.
Feedback,
right? It's where we're talking about as one style.
Yep.
How are you? What is the conversation relative to getting people to understand that they need to train in this area? Right. So small business owner, great. I've got an insurance agency. I've got a landscaping business. There's a skill set assigned to the type of business. But now there's all the rest of this stuff. Just because you own a landscaping business doesn't mean you're a good salesperson or you're a good.
Right.
So all of these things for a business to grow involves that business owner having to invest time, money, energy into learning those skills. How do you make the case for why does this matter, right? Why does it matter that I can communicate well with my staff or my team?
So, well, let's bring it back to the potential client standpoint, because you mentioned how do they do that, out in the marketplace. So now is the time of year in Richmond, spring is busting out all over, and a lot of people might be noticing their yard and need some landscape help in that. So the thing that I think works best or serves someone best is to ask questions, not I'm the expert.
Right.
Ask the questions of the potential client. So we had a landscape person over to our house. We were getting a couple different quotes, and he arrived before I did. And he said, how you doing? Good to see you. I am. Introduction. And let me ask you a few questions.
Right.
Sure. You get me talking, the homeowner talking, right, about various things. Checked in with that, absorbed that. And then he rebounded off that and said, let me tell you what I've noticed. And so it married what I had to say with his expertise.
Which
and
is
now we're part of a team.
And what we would say, right? So that's a great example, because now in lieu of, hi, I'm Cory, what are you thinking about getting done?
Right.
And then it's just you saying, oh, well, I think I need some
I
show.
need that.
Okay, great. I'll get you a quote. Let me write something up. Here you go.
Right.
What would you like to do?
Right.
Right. There's no engagement there.
There's no engagement
That's
there.
order taking, we would say, right, in sales.
Yes.
Right. That's just simply taking the order versus cultivating. And probably in that example, the chances of you buying some stuff you hadn't even thought of or adding some shrubs. I didn't even think about pulling that out. Or now all of a sudden, our guy showed up. He had a catalog. He's like, oh, you want lights? I got lights. And it's, 7 pages of lights there, right? So all of a sudden we've got lights and timers and all these things I didn't ask for. I was looking for rocks. Right?
Did you get rocks and lights?
We got rocks and lights.
Oh, did you?
In the front and the back.
Oh, nice.
Wasn't looking for the front. Somehow we've got rocks. So now the term kick rocks you kind of have to do as you're coming into my house because there's like the dogs rustle up the rocks. So I'm kicking rocks to go out of my door now.
Okay.
It sounded better than mulch when we conceptualized it, but now it got on its own.
It also speaks to something else, and that speaks to being prepared and what's new. This year, hopefully there are some new additions in every industry than there was in the previous year or the year before. And you're the expert.
Yeah.
So tell me what's new. Even if I don't ask, I can see from, no pun intended, the landscape of your yard, what might work well. Yeah. So once I have asked you questions and you've shared, and once I've observed and I can tie back in to what the homeowner has said, you always want to answer the question. You always want to answer the question and then take it down a new way. And that's where you can recommend what you do. And that also speaks to, I think, a general arena of always being prepared. They call it the elevator speech. They call it, doing the networking, what have you. Always have something in mind so that you can toss it out into the marketplace. Yeah. Did you know that this year what's really hot are lit rocks? And no, I didn't know that was new. So now I have somewhere to go in conversation.
And you maybe didn't even think about it.
Correct. Or be aware that that was a thing.
I think business owners miss all of these opportunities for revenue because they don't pay attention to the things that you're talking about right now, right? They go, okay, I have this product, I have this service, this is what it costs, and we want to sell as much of that as possible. And they miss all these ancillary kind of opportunities, right? It's kind of like going to a hairdresser. Like, you're not a good hairdresser if you don't have products on your shelf. And they can't just sit there collecting dust, hoping somebody walks by. Because you have business owners that will have those products, and they will only talk about it if you say it. Oh, well, you know what should I do to keep my hair? Or do you recommend? Or they're not going, hey, what should be happening is after, I love my hairdo. Great. If you want to maintain that here, I've picked 5 products that I think you should consider getting. Right. Oh, I don't want to upsell. I don't want to feel salesy. I'm a hairdresser.
It's just continuing the conversation is what it's all about. And it's about noticing things.
Now, if you got crap on the shelf, you don't want to sell crap to your customer.
Right. But if you've used that product on me, then let's reinforce that. And I understand if you don't want to go with a $54 bottle, but I've got a travel size. Yeah. Why don't you give it a go?
And you've got to make the offer though.
Yeah, you do. You have to make the offer for sure.
Not just wait on, if somebody, I don't want to push anything on anybody. So much revenue. I mean, I believe the difference between being profitable or not could be right in that chasm of offering extra products and services or just telling people, right? If it's lit rocks, if that's an extra opportunity because now I need to sell you the blue, the yellow, or the thing that makes it change colors.
So let me ask you this. How did lit rocks come into the conversation? How did the light come into the conversation? Do you have a dark area that you were trying to uplight, or what was the issue there?
Well, yes. We wanted to have greater lighting in the backyard.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
And it turned into having greater lighting in the front yard.
Well, we didn't do the light. We turned into rocks. We should put rocks. We should replace the mulch.
Okay, with the rocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then that was that guy making suggestions. Yeah. Oh, and the kind of plant. Several have died that he suggested. We'll deal with that in another episode. But it just became part of that process. So he had kind of a salesman's eye. But we didn't feel pushy. Right. So I guess I would consider him an effective communicator because it was, to your point, it was, here's what I understand. Let me understand what you want, why you want it, and here are some suggestions. And then again, people hate to be sold, but as Jeffrey Gitomer says, they love to buy.
They love to buy.
Right?
Absolutely love to buy. Yeah. And I think, in theater, you call it taking a beat. And in the speech world and public speaking, it's taking that pause.
Right.
And I think when you are on the client side and you want to be able to have that conversation with someone who will listen to you. And that goes back to those effective listening skills and noticing things.
Yeah.
And that is not to be underrated. It really is a skill in this crazy fast-paced world that in the rush, that sometimes we forget.
Right.
But when you've felt heard and listened to and appreciated, and I gotcha. And I think that is the mark of a really great business owner, whether it's an employee or whether it's the vendor or whether it's the client or a potential client. You know that you're in great communication with that person. And even if it's an issue that is a little maybe contentious or a little challenging, or someone made an error or something broke down, that you can have a conversation with that person to not damage the relationship, but to move through it to the other side.
Woo. When the church say amen. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We're getting
Thank you.
Joan's got to get acclimated. She doesn't know. I told you things were going.
Exactly.
I told you things were going to come. She's like, where did that
voice come from?
Yeah,
Thank you, William. Okay.
Exactly. So for those of you that didn't realize, we haven't gotten to point one yet, but we're going to get to point one now. Joan's been sharing a lot of great information. The formal conversation is a good leeway because number one statement that we want to make is practicing active listening.
Practicing active listening.
So we've been talking about that in different ways. We just didn't say practice active listening, right? So fully concentrating on what's being said instead of just passively hearing the message, giving your full attention, acknowledging the message, being thoughtful. All of those things go on to active listening. Right?
I am listening to you, but let me tell you why it's tough.
Yeah.
I like to talk about myself.
Right.
I want to tell you about my love for cheesecakes and sports and all things beach. And can I talk more about it? Active listening allows you to take a step back and really enrich the conversation to see where you can go. It's not about you being 100% quiet.
Right.
It's just about getting more about the relationship. That helps the other person relax.
Mm-hmm.
The other person trusts you and grows to like you. And then you can bounce things back and forth in a calm manner.
Right.
I think we've all been captured by people who don't know where to turn it off.
Yeah, sure.
And you want to escape. You want to get away. Even though you can tell sometimes that they're very proud of their business and what they do, and they want to tell you all about it. But it can't be a monologue. So your client will retain more about who you are and what you are when you can dole it out in small doses.
Well, and I like this because that leads into number two. We're catching up now.
Okay, good.
We'll see number two, which is be clear and concise. Because I believe that what happens, and I see this all the time, right? And you see this in sales. They call it talking past the sale or those types of things. Nervous conversation that people want to make where they start rambling and going on and on and on versus being clear and concise. Not to be confused with being curt, right? Being curt is not ideal when you're trying to communicate effectively, but being clear and concise is, would you say?
Clear and concise is, and I go back to how do you come off? And recording your voice in a conversation and then setting it aside and bringing it back out so you can have a listen and say, man, I was really intense in my delivery just about groceries or where we're going out for dinner that night. And so that's how other people are seeing you as well. Some people aren't smilers. Some people don't have a really fluid voice or a melodic voice, what have you. But you can tell when someone is a little bit more intense or curt as opposed to clear and concise. How can you do that? Again, you can just soften the voice a little bit. You can slow down how you deliver things so that people can retain a little bit more, and that's a little bit more inviting. As far as clear and concise, that might take a little bit more practice.
Well, there's a technicality to this, right? And I think where people get off on the wrong scenario is, I think a lot of people, particularly business owners, have a problem with adaptability. And what I mean by that is,
what do you mean by that?
Is that we're in this marketplace where everybody's talking about, be authentic and I need to be me. So if I'm a boisterous person, right, well, I got to be me. So I'm going to be I'm not going to because what we're talking about is the technical aspects of this, meaning knowing when to slow down or accentuate a point or how to use tone. But Cory, I got to be me. I'm loud. That's just how I am. Well, you miss a whole subset of opportunity.
I think you do.
Based on not being willing to make adjustments. That doesn't mean not being who you are. Mm-hmm. That just means being tactical as a business owner.
Right. And you said, your personality, I'm usually this way, but there are some times when you're quiet, aren't you? Absolutely. Or maybe you're not. No, you are. So there are some times where you are.
You're trying to say I can't be quiet?
No, you are. Or thoughtful or soft.
I won't talk for the rest of the episode.
Stop. No, don't do that. Where's William when I need him? Okay. So it is about adaptability with whoever's in front of you. And I think it's about taking cues. Again, if you want to relate to the other person, you need to try to step into their world a little bit. As far as I go back to the clear and concise, that might, from a client to a vendor standpoint, take a little practice. Mm-hmm. Instead of...
These are skills.
They are skills, and you can learn that and try that on someone. So your opening line for your pitch is, and you lob it out, and someone's like, I'm totally lost. I'm totally confused. I don't know where you're going with this. What do you mean? So that can take practice so that you can take something out that's a little sticky,
right,
that someone is interested in, and then goes somewhere else. I always like to start off with a question, based on my product. Do you love to read Southern Living? Would you love your home on HGTV? Yeah. You want to see my yard? I can help you. It might take 5 years, but I can help you right now with these things. So the questions are always engaging because they elicit a response from somebody else, and that's what you want. You want to start the dialogue.
Right. And you've got to be willing. You've got to be willing to have that conversation, be willing to have that dialogue, and work on getting your point across. Right. Some people have some of the greatest ideas that are out there, but they're not articulating or they're not willing to do the work to...
It is the work.
Yeah.
And sometimes stories can go too long. Stories captivate, they capture our ear. And with all due respect, because I've read his books.
Land the plane.
Yeah, there you go, Land the Plane. Mishner. I don't know if you've read any Mishner books, but William, have you read any Mishner books? Can I ask you? You have not. Okay. So he will do a book on Poland. He'll do a book on a country. And the first 300 out of the 600 pages set the scene. Well, snores later, you're like, oh my gosh, man, get to the point. However, his language is beautiful. There's probably people
who love that, though, right?
They do.
Yeah,
There's some people who just absolutely love that. Yeah. So it's like a...
They're not like us. We're land the plane kind of people. What is it? Don't give me the baby. Don't give me the labor pains.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Let's get to it, shall we?
Correct.
Set the scene.
And politely. But yes, but that happens in my world every day. So, Willie H, he'll love to tell you all the outskirts of the
William
around
is a
the
really
situation.
Good storyteller. I'm flying the William banner. Do I get a sound effect?
He's Willie H on here. You got to call
Willie
him.
H. Excuse me. I'm being a little too formal. Applause for Willie H. Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling it.
Okay, good. Yeah,
there you go.
Gas him up if you want.
I will. I shall. He's got the controls.
So, in the example that we're using here, that is an example of where the path takes way too long.
It takes too long.
Yes.
And people lose interest.
And we got to land the plane.
Right. So, again, you're the expert as the business owner. You do need help in other areas, which is why nothing stays stagnant. Right. Everything goes through changes or demise. We can talk about Kodak. We can talk about IBM. We can talk about companies that did not grow or change because, dang, they had a good product.
Yep.
And the same is true with conversation. You got to work it to get a little bit better, and you've got to know how you need to work it. And that's the power of a good coach.
So I'm going to pivot back to something you actually started with, but we're going to just formalize it as a bullet point, right? So, because you had started talking about internal communications like within a company. So I want to put a formal bullet point on it, and we're going to call it fostering an open communication environment.
Right.
Because that's kind of what you're talking about, right? The atmosphere where your team feels comfortable sharing their ideas, sharing their feedback, sharing their concerns. This comes from, right, being approachable, showing appreciation, those types of things for an open communication environment. That's a continuation of part of what you were saying.
Right. Internal customer service.
Yeah.
The companies that thrive.
I like the internal customer service. Yeah. Good.
The companies that thrive and grow not only have that external focus we're known for, but you can tell, you can feel, especially in the retail spaces, whether it's groceries or other retail spaces, that the employees are well treated. They're well managed. They like where they are. Yeah, there are bumps in the road.
Because you have the organizations that are so focused on the customer.
Yeah.
But internally, I would talk about this with auto dealerships. If you go to an auto dealership, you go to the customer lounge, the waiting area. It could be beautiful. It could be marble and
coffee maker.
Good coffee, not Sanka.
Right.
They've got good coffee, LaCroix
they probably have
water.
Iced tea for me.
Yeah, iced tea for you, the whole thing, but good stuff. And then if you went in the back and you went to the lounge or the employee break room area, you've got a broken microwave. You've got all the mismatched chairs from everywhere else that they've put together to try to make the chairs. You've got a soda machine that doesn't work that well. You've got a refrigerator that, was bought at a swap meet.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you, it almost creates resentment.
It does, doesn't it?
Because then you police, and then I would laugh because they would yell at the salespeople for being in the customer lounge.
Which is ridiculous.
Stop drinking. You need tokens. You got to come. You got to pay for the coffee. You got to do these things. Well, give me better stuff in the back, and then I wouldn't have to do that.
Right. That is very reflective of.
But wait, I've got another thought. This is how this show goes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, don't worry. This is how this goes. No, but I wanted to add one thing that I want you to weigh in on, which is, and I was thinking about this, communicating with your actions and outcomes when it's not verbal. So that scenario that I just talked about, what is that? You're communicating a message, a crappy lounge for the employees, a great lounge experience for customers. I'm not using words, but I'm communicating.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Go. I just wanted to add that in for you to speak to.
Well, I mean, everybody can see it, and everybody has an opportunity now to say their piece. The bad news in the example that you gave is that say my piece is going to be disgruntled employees. It's going to be complaining. It's going to be, and that's going to feed over into the attitude that they have with the customers, or it's going to be seen by the external customers for sure.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? How do you do that? So you've got to have that conversation from the employees to the management and say, here's the deal. Or you have to go to the HR department, or you have to have an advocate.
Right.
So your voice will be heard.
Now, not everybody has the luxury of being inside a large organization, right? So you've got, businesses that are businesses of 3 or 4. So there is no HR. There is no, what are some ways that you recommend for business owners to get better? What should they be doing? What type of classes or courses, or what should they be doing if they want to become better communicators to address this? Because you have people who are like, Cory, I'd love to talk to people better, or, not be sarcastic or have a better approach. But I'm just not sure, do I just need to sit on YouTube all day and try to figure it out? Or, what are some things that they should be doing?
I think most people want to have somebody, a coach right there. Sure, you can pick up a YouTube, TikTok, how to do this, what have you. But that's not a commitment there. There's no money invested there. And I think you need to throw the money in there. You got to have some skin in that game.
When people pay, they pay attention?
Yeah, absolutely. They pay attention.
Yeah.
I think you need to have someone paying attention to you on a paid basis. So as with any good course, college or otherwise, that you are going to graduate in some way. You're going to get better. And it's not going to be a one and done. It's not going to be an overnight kind of thing. And then your specific goals are addressed.
Right.
And you can say, and I always do a check-in and say, what am I listening to? What do you want me to pay attention to? I think I'm way too sarcastic. I think I'm too quiet.
Right.
I think I am a little bit afraid of my employees. I'm really good at this. They're really good at that. But I don't know what to do with them as far as an annual review or a check-in or what have you. And then you put together the plan.
What I love here is it's almost now, truthfully,
Yeah.
you don't know you don't know these bullet points.
No.
Yeah, you truthfully don't know. I didn't tell you anything.
Nope.
Because you're taking me right to the next piece.
Am I?
Yeah, because the next one is adapt your communication style. And that's exactly what you were just talking about. So, see, there's a reason. I mean, I knew this is why we have you here.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because I knew you were going to. It's almost as if you wrote this.
That's lovely.
Right?
That's lovely. Here's what I want you to know: adapt your communication style. And we throw out these pointers. That's really great. And you can do the Nike. Just do it. Would you just do it? No, because you're going to be uncomfortable. I'm here to tell you, you're going to be uncomfortable. Which again, I highly recommend a coach because they'll catch you doing things well.
Yeah.
And they'll reinforce that behavior for you. I always say before you take on the CEO, if you're an employee, take on the barista. You want to practice the communication in a low risk situation. And so where can you do that? You can isolate the behavior. I really need to get more verbal. I need to take initiative. I really need to be more concise and clear. All right, this is what we're going to work on. Here's your homework. Here's your challenge. I need for you to make note of 3 different scenarios that you did that and what occurred on the other side. And that way you both know that you're practicing to get better.
Okay.
And it'll become more comfortable and you'll be looking for situations where you can use that new skill. And that's what we want.
I like that. I like that. So we've got to number 5. We've been very efficient today.
Wow.
We're on number 5 right now. Because it got me thinking as you were talking also. Number 5, the last one, maybe we'll add like 7 or 8. I don't know. Maybe we get some more in.
Gosh.
But is using multiple channels of communication. And what got me thinking as you were talking is, and why I think this is so important, is we live in this age with all these different ways to communicate, but the wrong message in the wrong medium, delivered in the wrong form of or area of communication, can have completely different interpretations. Where I think this happens so often is texting and emails. You and I have had conversations. Yeah, you know where.
I know exactly
you and I
what
have
you're
had
talking about. We
conversations
have.
where something just doesn't get interpreted. Well, here's a button covered. Where something just didn't interpret, it didn't come across as the way we thought we intended it to come across. Right? So how important is it to make sure, right, that we're communicating the right message in the right medium and be paying attention to that? Because you have to move, I've had conversations with people where I'm like, all right, let's move this to a phone call. Because I'm not sure whether we're miscommunicating, or you're saying something that I don't think you are trying to say, and now we got to clear those up.
If it matters, you want to do in person because you have tone, you have visual, and you have words. And so
this is why I love video. Like I won't do any type of whatever you want, a consultation, discovery call. I obviously don't have the luxury to do everything in person, but I won't do it on the phone anymore. It has to be video. Because I need to see.
You need to see their face.
Body language, attention.
Yep.
Right? Because you're on that phone. We've all been on a conference call, off camera, on mute, doing other things, and not actively listening. Not being present, right? And then just kind of, I say waiting to talk in a lot of different ways.
Right.
So it that makes a lot of sense too. Like I want that. You want to be able to have those cues. Because it goes back to all the stuff about, the percentage of communication that's actually non-auditory. It's
80% allegedly is the body language, the tone, and what have you.
Allegedly. You don't sound convinced.
I think it depends. However, your lowest communication tool is just text. Texting or emailing, right? Because you're missing the person in that. You just have words. Did they choose the right words? Did they frame it well? Are they in a hurry?
I think things go really left in text messaging more often than
I agree with you on that. It's quick.
Right? Yeah.
It's efficient.
Yeah.
But if it's that quick, press that phone button and see if you can pull them up.
And sometimes typing how you talk is not effective communication.
Right.
Right?
I like to think, and I'm sure you're going to agree, and William can as well, a really good wit or sense of humor.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't need to convey that in a message. I just need to be very factual,
Right.
and very literal.
I'm high on sarcasm.
Are you? I know.
Yes,
Yeah, I know. It's fun.
I try
though.
to yes, it is. I try to forewarn people.
But it goes back to who are you in front of?
Yes.
And consider your audience, whether
Yes.
it's an audience of 1 or 5 or 500 or what have you. How will they receive the message? And it's not prejudging their interpretation. It's trying to match how the delivery will be met.
Right.
And
I mean,
it'll make it easier.
And the interesting thing is we do this already, right? Kids do this when they go to figure out which parent they're going to work to get what they want.
Right.
Right? That we do this adaptability. It's that idea of, I think of this with children so much, like, they did what? They don't act like that when they're, they know better. They're not going to act like that when they go to Nana's house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that means the child's adapting their behavior.
Well, you've trained them.
For the environment that they're in.
Absolutely.
Right?
You've trained them.
Yeah.
I can get anything from the grandparents, but not so much from my parents.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
So from a business perspective, we want to encourage you to make that same, because I see this in customer service environments. I see this. We've talked in the past about how small business owners handle reviews. And I watch, someone will say something, give, whether it's constructive or non-constructive feedback. And then I'll see an small business owner respond just as nasty as the comment. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how this works.
Right.
You don't want that in, I'm not going to let anybody talk about my, that's not, it's the cut off your nose to spite your face. I see so much of that.
It is.
And I think that's why it's important, these tips and these strategies that we're talking about here today, that you really take them seriously, because that's the erosion point of a lot of opportunities.
It is, isn't it? And I like the word opportunity there very much, because, in customer service particularly, there will be always somebody that's displeased about something. So how do you take the high road to handle it?
Mm-hmm,
And it's about emotional control, maybe containment, and it's knowing where to pivot. And it's also acknowledging the person in front of you. And that's listening. But then also you wrap the boundaries around it. And I don't know if I shared this story with you. Did so much travel before COVID, airline travel. Oh my gosh. Knew all the people at the gates in Atlanta and down in Charlotte. But there was 2 guys that were upset. I don't know about something. I entered the gate. I don't know, it was in New York or what have you. And they were upset.
Well, come on. Why you got to shout? Why did you have to point out?
Oh, no, New York was fabulous. New York was great, whatever.
No, I thought you said it was a New Yorker. Oh, you were saying you were in New York.
I was in New York.
Oh, I thought you were saying, it was like a New Yorker or something.
Lord have mercy.
Whatever, Willie H. Okay. Anyway,
That was
2 guys were
LG 007's
upset.
voice right there.
And there was the guy at the gate. The 2 gentlemen were giving it to him, an earful, and he acknowledged. He just stood there and listened. I was watching this whole scenario. And
Actively listening?
He was actively listening.
Yeah.
And then he said, I need to get my supervisor. Fine.
It's above me now.
Supervisor came over and she said, let's step over here. Fantastic. No longer an audience.
Right.
They went over to an empty gate and is still within view. And she's hearing both of them. And she said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to acknowledge this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And then they started giving it to her again. She said, stop. I've done everything I can to help you in this situation. I believe we've achieved what you've wanted. I'm not going to continue this conversation anymore. And I thought it was handled so professionally. She allowed them to vent. She heard the issue. She resolved the issue. And now we're done.
Yeah.
So in customer service, it's really important to take that high road to realize it's just a one-time scenario. It's not personal. And they feel comfortable enough to share their discontentment. Can we work our way through that?
I watched a video literally this morning. It's funny you bring up venting and the topic, and this guy is so, like, his whole vibe is everything's calm and relaxed, and that's like the vibe under which he does his makes his point. But he said, the problem with venting, he says, he operates in his space and he wants peace in his space. The challenge you have when you allow a friend, or he wasn't really even talking about business, just in general, people who vent at you. The problem with allowing them in is you're giving them a license to disrupt your space with their situation.
Right.
Right. And you really have to protect at all costs your frequency, your space, your inner peace.
So how did they manage that? How did that person?
I don't think he allows you to vent in front of him.
Are you serious?
I think that like his point is you just have to have perspective that you're giving just so you know, when you allow a friend or a peer or anybody to vent, you're giving them license, authorization, right? Legal authorization, as he says, you're giving them legal authorization to come in and completely shift your frequency and your dynamic with their situation.
Okay.
And I think it was more about mindfulness and being careful how often and if you allow that to happen. Because some people are professional sounding boards.
Right. That's true. So a couple comments on that scenario. I work with a manager who was trustworthy and reliable, an open door policy. And so people took advantage of that, right? And I also believe people need to diffuse
that they can
so
manipulate,
they don't get to the point
wind that person up.
So what we worked on, because it was more of a time thing for him, like, oh my gosh, I had 5 people come in and like an hour and a half later, he said, when they come into his office, he said, you got 10 minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm going to watch the clock, and in 10 minutes, we're done. So we're either moving on to resolve the situation in that 10 minutes. You can vent for 5 minutes. We'll resolve in 5. Or you can vent for 10 and goodbye. Have a good day.
Right.
And that,
I like that.
protected his time.
Yes.
They knew he was watching the clock.
Yes.
They got more clear and concise with their conversations. So he's retraining them to be better employees, more effective communicators.
I love that. Woo! When the church say amen.
Oh, Willie H., I love you for that amen. I'm going to bring you some more oatmeal cookies.
I'm so tickled watching. I'm so tickled having Joan listen and not know what's
what's
coming.
happening. Oops, sorry,
her response is hilarious. So, well, listen, I'm thrilled to say that we efficiently got through
Great.
The topic and fantastic insights from you. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And, of course, you're invited back. We will.
Thank you.
Our audience will hear and see more of you because we want to keep this value conversation going. You're doing a lot of work with your company, Joan Bowling Presents, and really helping people shape their communications in a lot of these examples. So we want to encourage people to connect with you on social and do that as well. But folks, that's our show for today. We're going to get out of here. Now, before we let you go, as always, we want to thank you for your listenership. Thank you for your viewership. Wherever you check us out, if you're streaming us on Apple, you're streaming us on Spotify, we're on Google Play, we're on Amazon Music, we're on iHeartRadio right now. We're continuing to grow the base, and people are coming back. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of streams, and we're really excited about that, and that's what we do it for. And I'm going to keep bringing fantastic, fabulous people that you need to know about, like Joan is going to be joining us here, and that's it.
Thank you, Cory. It's been a ton of fun.
Yes, exactly. Always fun to work with you, and happy to have you in the Mosley ecosystem and family as always.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do it again real soon.
We will do it again real soon. Well, folks, that has been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. We want to see you back here next week for another great episode. We want you to take action. We do want to entertain you, but we want to make sure that you are able to take some things that you can put in action to change your business and do the mission. The mission is pretty simple. That's to get your business growing. We appreciate your listenership as always, and we will see you next week. Willie H., take us out. We're allowed to talk to it.
Are we?
Yeah. So,
with this little music and
Exactly. Well, let's turn you into a viewer, a listener also.
I bet in the car business there's so many rough conversations, and it's probably, are they in private offices or are they out in the showroom? I mean, a lot of times in retail it's right out front.
Yeah. Well, they're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the
building.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see if we can help
or
them.
communicating ineffectively.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody saying something that they shouldn't be saying.
We all do it.
Yeah.
We all do it. It's walking the path. It's learning. It's trying to up your game. Yeah.
Yep.
I aspire to do that every
That's
day.
good. I think we helped that today.
So too.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.